The game of chess is much simpler than we all thought. This is not clickbait or a gimmick or any type of thing like that. I truly mean this. I've been trying to drive this point home across in the past few videos, but this game and this video, this perfectly illustrates this fact. And please watch this whole video because I think you'll get a lot out of it, and this will change the way you look at chess. All right, in this game, I'm playing a 1900 rated chess bot, Xavier. I'm playing this game with my student who is rated 1100 and change. And the point of these last few videos I'm doing is I want to show you guys how simple chess could be. This is not clickbait or any type of gimmick. I really mean this from the heart. I got better in chess and my rating improved dramatically when I realized that I was overcomplicating an already, air quote, complicated game. Now, chess does get complicated, but it should only be complicated really at like the super GM or GM level. And I really mean that. This is a 1900 rated chess bot, and I'm going to show you guys how simple I make this game look. And my student actually found a lot of the moves here. Now, a 1900 rated chess player is better than probably 95% or more of competitive chess players. And still, I'm telling you guys, you can attain this rating and you can beat 1900 rated players by simply using basic ideas. Let me explain. Here we have the Sicilian defense. Now, after my opponent plays bishop g7, we're in what's called the dragon. It's called the dragon because it's a scary word that they use because this bishop is the dragon and it's a very long-range piece, potentially, because it's on a big diagonal. And it also is defending... since the dark squares are weak after this move, because this pawn would usually be covering these two dark squares, the bishop compensates for that. So it's also a good defensive piece, this bishop. Now, I have a system. I've mentioned this many times, but I'll go over it again. I create a battery on the h6 diagonal, and that's in order to get rid of the bishop. Now, there's a three-step solution here when I'm playing against this type of structure, and this type of structure usually occurs in the Sicilian dragon, but not only the Sicilian dragon. Whenever your opponent plays this, I set up this battery, and I castle queenside. Okay? Simple as that. No calculation. My opponent pushes the pawn. Always play king b1 when you castle queenside. That's another rule. Again, no calculation. My opponent plays bishop d7, and now what do? We set up this battery, castle queenside, and throw the h-pawn. So we throw the h-pawn. The idea of this is very basic. It's very barbaric. It's not complicated. I'm just opening up files of attack to my opponent's king. I want to open up the h-pawn, the h-file. If I can even take this pawn off the board, I would, but it's illegal. They won't let me do it. But I'm just opening up this. If I have to sacrifice it, great. And play g4, and the knight moves. I just want to open lane of attack for my pieces. Where we're attacking, we want open files. When we're defending, we want closed files. And I'm going to show you this game perfectly illustrates that. Now, my opponent attacks my bishop. And what I was explaining to my student is we can't just robotically go along with our plan. We have to take time out after every move to see what's our opponent's threat. So the tactics supersede the strategy. In other words, if I just go along with my strategy, he wins a bishop, and the game is pretty much over at this point, right? So I just simply ask myself, what's my opponent's threat? He's attacking the bishop. Okay, I just simply move it out of the way. It's really that easy. Now my opponent attacks. I just said we want to close the files and close the game where our opponent's attacking. My opponent's attacking on the queen side, obviously. That's where my king is. That's where his rook is. That's where everything's going. So I don't want to take and open up the file. That would be kind of ridiculous, right? So I just simply close it. Now, yes, he is guarding squares around my king, but this is much better than having open files to my king. Okay, now the queen attacks. Well, not attacks, but it's putting pressure on my knight. It's defended, so I just simply send the h-pawn, right? Everything's defended. I see what's my opponent's threat. It's already defended. I go along with my plan. Now he plays rook c8. Rook c8 is simply attacking my knight. How do I know that? My queen's defending the knight once. He's attacking it twice. I'm not great at math, but I can count to 2. So I simply do what here? I defend it. Now, why did I defend it like that? First of all, I could always give up my queen, but the whole point of throwing the h-pawn at him is to open up the h-file and to checkmate black. In order to do that, I need queens on the board. Queens are like great white sharks in the water. The water could be very dangerous with great white sharks in there. But with no sharks, it's basically a swimming pool, right? Or piranha or whatever. But you know what I mean. You get my point. So if I were to do this and we trade and he just takes the pawn at the end of the variation, now I'm down a pawn, but it doesn't matter that I open up the h-file. Who cares? I'm not going to checkmate him with no queen, and now I'm just down a pawn. So for that reason, I just step back and defend my knight. So now my knight's defended once, twice, and it's being attacked once, twice. Very simple, right? He takes my bishop. Obviously, we got to take back. I can take back with the queen or the pawn. I take back with the pawn because I want my queen with this battery. And also, he has an open lane of attack with the rook, but now I have an open lane to defend with my rook, so I can counter his rook with my rook. Okay, my opponent plays knight e8. Again, if we go along with our plan and just think about our plan, that's not what chess is about. We would lose a piece. Okay, so knight e8 is not a good move, but it is still filled with venom, right? So he's threatening now the knight 3 times. We're defending it 3 times. Twice. So 3 is more than 2. So I have to defend it a 3rd time. Again, this is basic math. So how do I defend it? Well, the best way is to improve a piece. My rook is aimed at a pawn, which doesn't do any good for my rook. It wants to be on an open file, and exactly like I said before, countering this rook. Therefore, I played rook c8. That defends the knight a 3rd time. And now my opponent plays king f8. And here, king f8 is too passive. He should have done something else. I'm not sure exactly what, but something else. And king f8 just kind of puts the ball in the opponent's court, which is not something you really want to do in chess, especially when the kings are on opposite sides of the board, and attack is very, very important. So here I open the h-file. That was my first phase, right? The second was get rid of this bishop. From here on, now I'm going to show you. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to rewire your chess brains. And the lower your rating, the better it is for you, because the easier it is to rewire your chess brain. I'm going to show you this whole attack really quick, and you're going to think maybe, I don't know, that it's maybe really a great attack. It's brilliant. I don't know. It's not, but you might think that if I do it really fast. Now, this is what the attack looked like. Now, if you see this, you might think, wow, that's a crazy game. That required a crazy amount of calculation, right? But no, you would be wrong. My student, who's 1,100 and change, found every single move from here on out. And he's not going to be 1,100 for long. He's 1,100 probably mostly because he doesn't play that many games on chess.com. But if he plays like this for certain, he won't be 1,100 for long. So first of all, we want to get rid of the bishop, right? I said that was a good defensive piece. So how do we do that by force? Bishop h6. Now he can't avoid the trade because he would be moving into check. So he moves his queen away. And now we always look for what first? What's the top tier of our hierarchy of candidate moves? It's always forcing moves, right? Okay, our opponent doesn't have a threat. So we look for forcing moves. Bishop takes g7. If I do bishop g7, right? Now this requires calculation, but again, 2 to 3 moves, that's it. So if he takes with the knight, he gets mated on the spot. If he takes with the king, it's check, right? If he comes back here, it's checkmate. So he has to come here and then check, winning the queen. So for that reason, after I took, he did neither. Now again, my student found every single move here. Look for forcing moves. How do we replicate that position? We're up a piece now. We can just simply retreat the bishop and we're probably winning. But what's the most accurate way to play here? Black is getting mated here. The most accurate move, always look for forcing moves. Rook h8. King takes bishop, forcing the king to take the bishop. Now we throw in the check. Why? Forcing our king, the opponent's king, to f6, where we know this check is winning the queen. So we throw in the check. After the king moves, we were going to take the queen. If you take the queen, you're going to probably win the game. But we want to play the most accurately. Why not throw in this check first? So throw in this check first. Now the king comes here. Again, we could take the queen, but I threw in this check first. Now if he blocks, we simply have this check coming behind him. So what does he do? His only way out is king d4. Now, when I showed you this attack, you might have thought, oh, I'll never see stuff like this. But when you think about it logically, it's not that hard. Again, we can take the queen. We can take it whenever we want. That's like our insurance policy. If we miscalculate, we can always, and we don't have checkmate, we can always take the queen at the end and bail out. But here we have to look for the most forcing moves. And the most forcing move here is knight e2 check. Now, knight e2 check, the king cannot come back here because of the queen. Cannot go to this file at all because of the rook. So he has to take the pawn. And after he takes the pawn, we have a series of checks coming. So why not? And again, if we're wrong, we can always bail out and take the queen. So here, knight e2 check, the king has to take. And again, instead of taking the queen, rook d1 check. The king cannot come here because of the pawn, cannot come here because of the knight, cannot come here because of the king, cannot come here because of the queen, cannot come here because of the pawn, so has to take. And now we look for another check, the queen drops back, and that's checkmate. And if it wasn't checkmate, if we missed the square and he can come here, we can always take the queen at the end. But hopefully I made that look as simple or articulated how simple it actually was, because it's all, it's just basic strategy, opening up lines of attack, and just when we do calculate, it's only calculating maybe 2-3 moves in advance, nothing crazy. And this is against a 1900 player. They're better than 95% probably of the competitive chess players out there. At least this bot is replicating that skill level. Anyway, if you did find this video helpful, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future content, and check out this video. I'll catch you guys next time. Go play some chess.